Are you hungry but only have 30 minutes to meal prep? Then download my new e-cookbook, What to Meal Prep, at successfitnessstore.com. You will get 3 step-by-step written and visual recipes for one high-protein meal that's under 600 calories. I'll help you cook fresh salmon, steam fresh broccoli, and quinoa in under 30 minutes to help you stay on track of your fitness goals. So go to successfitnessstore.com to download your copy today. Welcome to the Success Fitness Podcast. I am your host, Christian Evans. This podcast is about helping improve our relationship with nutrition and exercise to achieve success in our fitness journey. And our special guest today, Taylor Branum, will help us do just that by sharing her story of how she unlearned years of bad eating habits, overcoming the lack of self-worth, and from being kicked off a roller coaster ride for being too big to lose 120 pounds. So without further ado, Success Fitness family, please welcome Taylor Branum to the podcast. How you doing, Taylor?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. So you are in or from Fresno, California, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So what's the weather out there like that today?
It's starting to cool down. Last week it was pretty hot. It was around like 111, and now it's like going back into like the 70s and like 80s. So it's feeling nice today. Yeah.
I got you. Is it normally like this during this time of the year? Because you hear so much on the news about, how hot it is, a heat wave. Yes. And I just wanted to ask you, is this normal? I don't know.
This year it was really, really hot, and my air conditioning went out. That's how hot it was. So I think for a whole month I was out of air conditioning. So I was like sleeping in the living room with all the animals and this tiny little air conditioner, and it was brutal, like very much brutal. There were people sitting outside underneath the misters trying to stay cool, but now it's back to normal. People are just starting to bring the sweaters out, and it feels a little bit breezy today, so it's nice.
I got you. Okay, cool beans. So hopping right into it, you went from 291 to 165 in 18 months, right? So that's a total of 120 pounds. Can you tell us a little bit more about where you were at right at 291 to something clicking in your mind? You're saying, okay, I got to get this weight off. What was that like?
So by the time I had like gotten on the scale and I saw like 291, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm almost about to be 300 pounds. Like I really had truly wanted for myself to not be overweight in my 20s. Cause in my teen years, I had always struggled with my weight. I think I started struggling with my weight around 10 or 11 years old. And I was bullied terribly in middle school and high school for my weight. And so my kind of self-worth was like really, really low, super insecure. And I always told myself, man, I don't want to be overweight in my 20s. Like I really want to get my life together, but it just something that like never happened. I think I just got so caught up in going to school and working at the same time and really didn't make the right choices to like stick to losing weight. Like I made a lot of excuses for why I couldn't do certain things, and because I think of being insecure, I was too afraid to reach out for help or to like seek that journey. So I think I was 26 at the time. I had dipped my toe into losing weight and like, calorie counted and maybe lost like 40 pounds. And then I gained right back because I thought, oh, I lost a little bit of weight, went right back to bad eating habits. And then, here I was back to being heavier again, the 50 pounds or 40 pounds jumped right back on. And so I remember it was around my birthday one year, and my friend and my sister and I wanted to go to Great America, and we were waiting in line, got on the roller coaster, and everything was fine. Like I was just sitting there waiting for the ride to start, and I realized it was kind of like taking a long time. So after a while, I was sitting there, and 2 of the attendants from, Great America walk up, and they say very like, like without any emotion, really, they're like, you need to get off the ride because you're too big. You can't start the ride. So you need to get off. And I first was like, what? Like you're talking to me? Like I didn't register that I was the reason, because then at that point in time, I knew I was big, that I didn't think that I was that big. I didn't think I would stop a whole roller coaster ride.
Right. And how tall are you?
In my mind, I'm like, you're talking to me. And then I kind of got angry. My reaction was to get defensive and be
right. That's natural.
Me.
Right.
Accommodate big people. And so I started popping off on this girl, get up, me and my sister and my best friend get up, and we're walking off. And then immediately I go into tears, because that's the most humiliating thing a young woman could ever want to feel, is that you're getting up a roller coaster in front of a huge line of people. I
Right,
don't
right,
like count
right,
how many people were waiting in that line.
right.
So it ruined the whole trip for me, and it ruined like everything. And I didn't want to get on any rides. And I just kind of thought to myself that entire trip, like, this is it. Like, I'm done. Like, this is the last time I ever let my weight stop me in my life, because my weight had always controlled and dictated everything I do, from how athletic I could be to what I could wear, where I could shop, who I could talk to, who wanted to talk to me. And I think that was my breaking point. I was like, this is never, ever going to happen to me ever again. And as soon as I went home, I signed up for a gym membership at Planet Fitness. I started calorie counting. I threw everything in my house away that was bad. Like, I literally went like full throttle in my life, because I was like, there's no way that I'm going to continue to go into my 20s, into my 30s, being overweight and like hating myself and like
Right.
not living my life. So that was my breaking point. That was what really like kickstarted me into like chasing a better lifestyle. And I literally never stopped after that.
I got you. I got you. Now, how tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
Okay, so 290 at 5'9", you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I like to give context with height, because we are slaves to numbers, and we can just see a number. It's like, oh, somebody weighs this amount, but you know, it's different proportion wise based off of height. And that's, you know, important for people who are, you know, kind of looking at social media or TV, and you know, this person is X amount of pounds or X amount of pounds, but you have to take into consideration height, you
Mm-hmm.
know, on from both aspects, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I asked that. Now, uh,
Absolutely.
you going, you know, you had the roller coaster, you know, incident. So when you got your membership at Planet Fitness, what were some of the first things that you did there?
Um, Probably just stuck to the treadmill the whole time.
I
I
got you.
think that I was like, okay, let me just make sure I'm all covered up. Like, I was terrified to go to Planet Fitness. Like, I immediately thought, like, this is not my element. I do not know what I'm doing here. But I got some hoodies, you know, got my leggings, got my headphones, set myself up with my water bottle, got my gym membership, and I would go like really late at night or like early in the morning when nobody was really there. And I would stick to the treadmill, and I would do 30, 45 an hour. And then I'd maybe, you know, go and do a couple machines that looked like they were easy. But at first it was a slow crawl. Like, at first it was like, let me just acclimate myself to what even this is, because, you know, I think I had already told myself like, this is not for me and I don't belong here, that I completely like didn't think I even could do anything. Like, I couldn't do the stair climber. I can't do that. I can't squat. Like, none of that was like even possible to me at first. It was simply just like, let me do cardio and let me just do these machines and like just lose weight. It was never really like, you know, how do I composition my body or anything like that. So in the beginning, yeah, it was very much that basic, you know, intro. And then I was only eating like 1,200, 1,400 calories. Like, I was
I
starving
got you.
myself
I got
essentially.
you. So you just went and said, you know, I'm just going to cut everything
Basically
off.
Googled and said, how do you lose weight? And
I
then
got you.
did
I
that first
got you.
on Google, you know what I mean?
Right, right. So prior to this 1,200-pound new diet, almost 1,200 pound, 1,200 calorie, this 1,200 calorie new
Yeah.
diet plan that you started, what were some of your, I guess, eating habits that you mentioned that you had to break, that you had established prior to this 1,200 calorie new diet? So what were, you know, some of the things that, as far as food wise, that you were eating prior?
I mean, anything I wanted, because I was also a very emotional eater. So like, if I
Gotcha.
was upset, I think my go-to has always been sugary things. Like, I'm
Okay.
a very sweets person. So it was like, even first thing in the morning, like, I want a pastry or I want like a frappuccino or whatever, you know what I mean? Something very sweet and sugary. Those are my go-tos. And then, you know, like portion sizing, like I would literally eat until my stomach hurt sometimes, because I was so anxious or I was so upset or like whatever the case may be. So it was just like, I had no understanding of healthy eating when I first started. I grew up in a household that didn't really like prioritize nutrition or even talk about, you know, healthy eating. I grew up half Cuban and half white. So I lived with my mom, and my grandma cooked a lot of Cuban food, but my mom didn't, you know, really cook a lot. And she had a lot of like her own body image issues and eating disorders.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of like Slim Fast and Atkins and
Right.
Nutrisystem my house. And there was a lot of, when it wasn't that, it was a lot of Coca-Cola and McDonald's and sugary cereals. And like, you know, so I didn't have a healthy balance of eating to grow up on regardless. When I went to my dad's, you know, my dad's was a little bit more structured, but being a kid bouncing back and forth and like, you know, living majority with my mom, I developed a lot of those eating habits. So like I loved soda and like I loved sweets. And the one thing that I could not cut into my diet was Sprite. Like I literally could not stop drinking Sprite. And I knew that when I had first lost like the 100 pounds that I had to cut it out in order to lose more, but I literally could not relinquish that control. So I would, every time I wanted to drink a Sprite, I would go and buy like LaCroix or something like that and drink it, completely be disgusted by it. And but it would satisfy that craving I had to like drink soda. And then over time I cut my soda habit. So now I don't even want Sprite. I don't drink Sprite at all anymore, but it was something like in the beginning that was really like, oh God, I can't give this up. Like I need this so bad. So yeah, so I had a lot of different like things that I was drawn to that I've now looking back on, I don't have those problems anymore.
And how challenging is that? What I mean is like these childhood eating habits, right? To break out of them. And then it's like, first you have to, you know, recognize, all right, you know, why am I doing this? And whatever this is, you have to unpack that. How tough was that? Just first identifying what that is, and then, okay, let me unpack this. And okay, this is how I make these adjustments. Because, you know, we see and hear so many, you know, weight loss stories, or even some people may look at heavier people and think that, oh, okay, you know, you're just being lazy because you don't want to stop eating or whatever. I mean, to an extent is very arguable, but when there are things that you are rooted in, far as from childhood, and like how you're saying, you know, you're going from, you know, house to house and different, you know, there's different things, you know, maybe dad let you drink all the soda, and, you know, maybe mom didn't, and now it's a conflict, or, you know, who's trying to be, you know, the better parent in the two, you know, just from, you know, letting their baby girl have whatever they want, and developing from there. I know it's a long question, but explain just that struggle and having to overcome that.
Yeah, no, that you hit that on like nail on the head. Like literally, I think the hardest part was acknowledging that like at first you kind of shame yourself. You blame yourself in the beginning, and like people may think like, oh yeah, it is because you're lazy, or like, you know, I am making excuses, or like, you know, if I just wanted to eat healthy, I could, you know, but it's not that easy. It's not like an easy choice to make. It was a lot of acknowledging like the way that I was raised, and like acknowledging kind of like that spotlight that what my mom had, you know, shown me. My mom, like, you know, I love her to death, but was also kind of contributed to a lot of body shaming when I was younger, like telling me different things about my body that didn't necessarily help my self-image. So growing up like with the eating disorders and everything like that, and then like, you know, looking back on the things that were said to me and the way that I was looking at myself through my journey, like it was almost like reliving the trauma again. And it was really, really hard. And I had to constantly fight the urge to like want to binge, or like want to like, you know, cut from my diet and go and eat something bad, like constantly wanted fast food. But I always had to remind myself like what my why was. I was constantly telling myself, what is the why? Like, what are you doing this for? And it was for me to live my life. Like I wanted to break those curses. I really wanted to like be the first one in my family to finally focus on their health and wellness and create a like healthier legacy for my family. And like it's a lot of heavy work to do that, but it's once you work through it, I think you develop such a healthier relationship with health and fitness, because then it doesn't become so much about like what you look like, and it becomes more about like everything else that you've achieved and how it's like translating to everything else in your life. Like finding the gym and like eating healthier, that didn't just help me lose weight and like be a better, like healthier person. That helped me like start healing my family and be more confident to like seek other opportunities and like do more things for them. And like I truly believe like if I hadn't gone on this route, that I wouldn't have become healthier in like every other aspect and been able to help my family the way I have now. So it's been heavy, but it's been worth every single hard day that I had to go through.
I got you. So with all of these emotions and, you know, things that you have to unpack, and you're walking into the gym, did these things fuel you? And if so, what was, how can I say it? It's kind of like that trigger that said, you know what? Okay, I'm jogging today. I'm going from, let's say, throwing out a wild number in the beginning, like level 3.5, speed 3.5 on the treadmill. For some, for some people, it's a, a light trot. What was that one thing that was in your head and you said, you know what, I'm going to, let's say 4.5 or 5.0 as far as for the speed? What was that one trigger thing that just kept you going? Because we all have something that keeps us going to the gym, and, childhood, upbringing, and the desire to want to be more, do more, like you said, to be able to provide more for your family. What was that, that gasoline to the fire, per se, for you?
I think because it reminded me, like when I first started going to the gym and running on the treadmill, I would remember what it was like in middle school to run the mile. And I was always the one in the back, 16, 17, 18-minute, 20-minute mile.
That was me. That was me. Yes.
Yes. You remember those days and being so embarrassed. And you would try in the beginning.
Yeah.
Try, but then
give me
your
about
chest
2 laps and I'm just walking. I'm like, whatever.
Yes, exactly. And I would remember that while I was on the treadmill. And so it started off as me like walking faster to running. And I remember me wanting to beat that mile time so bad, even as an adult. It like makes me laugh to think about how bad I was like, I'm going to beat that mile. And so I remember getting, I did it for the first time and I was like at 20, 22. And I was like, oh God, that's going to be a long running journey. But I just kept doing it. And then, man, at first it messed up my knees because being 290 pounds, you're trying to run on a treadmill.
Right.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of depressing
weight.
because it's like, here I am trying to lose weight, and what at that time is basically
I was
what
like probably
see.
like 170.
It's like run. You're probably not even thinking about maybe the bike or the elliptical, but it's like, man, here I go trying, and now it's pain. Pain in my knees. And like you said, you kept that in your head to help you go forward. So how did that knee pain or those type of aches keep pushing you forward?
It would throw me off for a little bit. I remember even pulling a muscle one time and having to be out of the gym for a month and
wow,
feeling so defeated, like, oh my God, my journey is going to stop. I'm going to gain all my weight back, and like having a real crisis because I was going so hard that I didn't care about stretching. I didn't care about recovery. It was just like, let me go every single day. Like you go really, really hard sometimes when you're like, have that fire sparked in you, but sometimes it can backfire if you're not, also taking into account, like I didn't think about what rest was and recovery.
Right. It's just go just full bore. Right.
Yeah. And I think back then when I started my journey around 2016, fitness wasn't trending for women the way it is now. It wasn't as like mainstream as it was. So I never saw myself represented in the gym, or like there was like versions of me that I had examples of. So showing up as my own representation as like a big girl, a heavy girl, like that had no experience in the gym and like trying to learn all these things was so daunting and intimidating. But I think that's also kind of what there was, like this feeling of like, I'm going to show everybody, like everybody knew me as this girl. Well, I'm going to show everybody who I am now. And it was like this real, like I just knew in my soul that I was meant to be somebody different. Like I just knew that I wasn't who I really was. And it almost makes me emotional to think about it. Like it just growing up, I always felt like I had a purpose, and that they're like looking at myself in the mirror. I'm just like, this is not me. I tried to be body positive in myself. And I love that culture. I think that's a very important culture, like being loving yourself as you are. But I think it also like has a lot to do with like your health and how you feel about yourself and the relationship with yourself. And where I was just not, it was not a good place. And so going through this journey and then trying to beat that mile time and trying to like, push myself with that, I'm going to show them, but also show myself that like, this girl that was never athletic, could not do anything sporty whatsoever in her life, that was unlearning all of these like horrible, like basically starting at square one, that she could do it, and that I could show other girls like me that they could do it, because I had friends that were struggling with the same thing. Like that just drove me. And I will never forget the day that I ran a mile and I hit 7 minutes and 30 seconds on the treadmill. And
7:30, goodness gracious.
I was like, I ran for my life that day. With this feeling of like, I did it, and it didn't, and I didn't need to.
When you hit your goal, your 7 minute and 36 seconds, right?
30 seconds. It was like 7:30.
Oh, yeah. Okay. 7:30.
Yeah, exactly.
7:30 in the morning. Got you. Were you listening to any music, or are you like a TV watcher when you are doing your cardio?
No, I definitely was probably listening to some music, but now that I think about it, I don't remember what I was listening to. I listened to a lot of like Drake, a lot of Joyner Lucas, a lot of like, I'm trying to think of now what I was listening to back then, a lot of hip hop, a lot of rap, a lot of that like intense, like, you know, Lil Wayne, stuff like that. So definitely like the things that like, almost like spark some deep emotion in you, because like to push me through those workouts, like on the days that I didn't want to show up, I had to pull everything I could out of me to show up. But it was always me just telling myself, you know, why, what was your why are you doing this? And, you know, knowing that even on the days that it was really, really hard, that it was making a difference. Even when I felt like it wasn't going to make a difference, like, why am I here? Because I felt like that a lot. Why am I doing this? You know, like you feel like because nothing's happening quick enough, you're just
Right.
constantly like, why am I doing this? Scale's not moving. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I constantly had to be like, because of this reason, because of that, because you need to get here, you need to do this. And once I started seeing 291 go to 280 to 275 I was like, I'm doing this. Like, I'm actually doing this. And so I was kind of like scared almost, because I'm like, can I keep this off? Can I keep doing this?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so you're constantly in this like emotional roller coaster on a weight loss journey, because you don't know if it's going to stay. You don't know, like, you know, if you're doing it right. And I think one of the hardest things too was watching myself get loose skin and watching my body not change the way that I thought it was going to change.
I
Like,
got you.
that's one of the harder things was, you know, being a big girl, you kind of envision what your results will look like. And when they don't turn out that way, it's kind of like, damn, well, why did I do this? Like, why did I, you know?
Right. And you bring up a good point, something I totally forgot about when you are, you know, losing those, you know, first 5 pounds, those first 10 pounds, those first 15 pounds, that nervousness. I haven't had anybody talk about that until you did. And I'm like, you know what? She's right. It's that nervousness of exactly what you just said. It's like, okay, can I keep it up? Can I, you know, what if it comes back? And it's everything, you know, all at once. So now it's almost like you're operating out of fear. Now, you know what I mean? And it's just like, okay, I got to get so far away from it that if I do gain something back, it won't be that bad. And it's like every 5 pounds, you keep feeling that, you know, over and over and over again. So with that being said, what was that feeling like when you, let's say, lost the first 25? Let's go 25 pounds. What was it like losing that first 25 pounds?
Man, I feel like I was like on top of the world, even though I didn't really like see it. It was like, oh my gosh, like I'm farther away from that 300. Like I'm closer to 250. Like
Right.
I didn't try to like think about like, because my goal was 145. Back then it was like, I'm gonna be 145. And now
I
thinking that I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, like that's crazy.
Right.
You know, that's really thin for 5'9", but like, you know, we'll just go with it. But I told myself, no, like do small goals, because the smaller the goal, the more accomplished you're probably going to feel. So I really tried to coach myself through it, because I didn't have a big support system at the time. My family was all, you know, they didn't work out, they don't eat healthy, you know, and I didn't have a lot of friends I didn't have any friends that went to the gym or ate healthy either. So it was like, I was really doing this on my own and very isolated. And it was kind of hard not to have like, you know, anyone to talk to about it, or like, you know, have somebody to share that with. But I remember like feeling my pants getting bigger, and I remember feeling my shirts getting bigger, and I remember like noticing little things, and I was just like, okay, you know, just keep doing this. So it was like, I think it was the nervousness, but also like, you know, that little bit of progress that was like, okay, like, you know, just keep going. Don't give up, just keep going. That was like a lot of the motivation, was seeing that scale kind of like drop down, but also seeing it maybe go up a couple pounds and being like, oh my God, like I'm not making progress anymore. And then kind of going to extremes almost to keep that progress, you know, like not eating enough, or like not, you know, working out for 3 hours at the gym, doing too much cardio. Like there were a lot of times where I felt it creeping, where I was doing too much then to try and keep it going down, and definitely built an unhealthy relationship with cardio.
I got you. Now we mentioned a lot, and we're talking a lot about, you know, gym and working out, which is very essential, not negating that. Go into your nutrition, your diet, when even starting, you know, when you first started losing the weight. What were, you know, what was your diet like? Just leave it like that, and you can take it from there.
So I think, so at the time when I first started losing weight, I worked at Barnes and Noble, and they had a little Starbucks cafe in that area. And every single day I was in there buying like a drink, a sugary drink and a pastry. So like having to go to work every day and smell it and like know it was there and cut myself off was the hardest thing ever. I started having to like make I started focusing on like, okay, what does a healthy breakfast look like? And so I would start off with like eggs and toast or like eggs and oatmeal and just keep it really light. Everything was really small portioned and everything like that until I learned how to like track protein. And then my lunch and dinner was always the same. It was very, very bland, very chicken, rice, and broccoli, very like salmon, like, but I had to teach myself how to like eat those things because that's not what I grew up eating. It wasn't, I didn't get these structured meals. We didn't never really ate vegetables like that. We never ate fruit like that. So I had to literally show myself like, okay, what should you be eating? What vegetables should you have? And I made everything really simple on myself. I bought everything frozen, like frozen vegetables and like ready to microwave rice and stuff like that, because I knew that I worked so much and I knew that I would make excuses to get fast food. So I knew if I had things that were less than 5 minutes to make, I couldn't make the excuse to go out and eat food. So I would go home and just meal prep all these things. And so at first it was really hard because I was really deprived. Like I got really sick of that really quick, but I kind of just almost like forced myself a little bit to stick to the chicken, rice, and broccoli, egg whites, oatmeal, all that stuff. And then when I started to realized that I needed to eat more protein, that's when I started to like focus on, okay, let me change these up and eat more. And so then it was like protein shakes. And then it was like, okay, let me try cooking this chicken a little differently. And then I reintroduced red meat and those kinds of things back into my life because I realized not everything was bad. And so it was like a slow trickle from literally fast food and sugary pastries and like, you know, whatever else crap I wanted. Taco Bell was one of my favorite things ever, Chipotle, to literally cooking everything at home and learning how to make meals and learning what vegetables and fruits I should eat and what I didn't like bananas are something that I tried to eat for a really long time and they're not good on my stomach. They don't work for me.
Got you.
So it was like having to navigate all of these things and learn what worked and what didn't. And after I saw that the food was the biggest difference in my life with like eating, the way I was eating was helping me lose the weight, then that's what kept me going. No matter how much I didn't like it, I would just eat because I
It's
knew
like
that
everything clicked for you at that point in time. When you mentioned protein, the need for it, what was that moment and what were your I guess your macro goal for the time with protein?
So after the 18 months, I was really happy that I lost the weight, but I was so like I had no muscle definition in my body and like not very much muscle mass. So like even though I lost a bunch of weight, I had realized like I was not toned and I wasn't tight and I had a lot of loose skin and it made me feel super insecure. So I reached out to a trainer at Planet Fitness and I said, look, like, I really need your help. Like, what do I do to help me get more muscle on my body? Cause I don't have a butt and I don't have, you know, big quads and that's why I want to look like her and da, 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 da. And she was like, well, first of all, I see you in here every day and you're always on that damn treadmill. I need you to get off that treadmill and start lifting weights and eating more protein. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what protein is. What do you mean? And so then she was like, well, you know, how many calories do you eat? And I told her and she was like, what are you talking about? Like, you are tall, like you need to be eating more. And so she kind of like pushed me into like, you need to look up what protein and macros are. Go home and look what that is. She took me to the machine, showed me how to use the Smith machine. And so that night I went home and I was like, oh, like I started to realize like, oh shit, I've been doing this wrong. Like I was doing this the right way. And so I almost kind of broke down at that point because I felt defeated. I literally felt like, you're telling me I lost all this weight and now I don't look how I want to. And now I have to do this all over again and build muscle. Like I almost felt like somebody played a joke on me and I was so upset,
I got you.
and I was so hurt and I really got depressed for a while and I kind of stopped on my journey and I got really down because I was like, I'm just never going to get to where I want to be. Sorry, it's making me emotional. And oh gosh, I didn't think that was all good.
It's all good. And I totally get that because one time when I had initially, you know, lost my weight, I went to go play basketball with my cousin. Now, during the time when I was losing weight, I worked out. You know, I knew to work out. Didn't know anything about macros per se. I was just, you know, working out, hour cardio, hour weights. Wasn't thinking protein at all, kind of like you know, it was just like, oh, okay, you know, I'm not hungry and I'm not running to Burger King at 12 a.m. to buy 2 cheeseburgers and 2 Whoppers or whatever. And I can just remember just him just moving me just crazy. You know, I just felt like a stick, you know, it was like literally like a mouse in the house. And I did a podcast about that a couple of weeks ago, but I totally get it. Cause you're like, okay, what did I do all this for? Here I am. I lost all this weight. I'm thinking that I'm going to be strong. And in my case, it wasn't that. it wasn't that. Then I realized, I'm like, okay, you need to train your body differently, but at least you got the weight off. So even when you talked about those first 5 pounds, that nervousness about when you lose the 5 pounds, like, am I doing this right? Now it almost was like, that was almost like a premonition to an extent, because you got to your goal, and then it's like, man, I felt this when I lost my first 10 pounds, but now it's just totally different. So this trainer's telling me to eat more, and it's like, okay, if I eat more, then I'm going to gain more pounds, and then I got to work out. Now it's a whole other different thing, or the version of working out. You have been working out. What you knew was, maybe a stair climber, bike, or treadmill. That was that. Now it's, okay, I gotta lift this heavy weight. Okay, how do I do that? How does this feel? How does that feel? So you went from this trainer suggesting, increasing your protein, hitting the weight, to you becoming a personal trainer. So tell me how, this 2-part question. One, what did you feel when you got to your weight loss goal of 120 pounds to then becoming a personal trainer?
It feels very surreal. Honestly, I have to say, like, I still kind of wake up and I'm like, this is what I do now. Because I mean, truly, I lived 26 years, like, as a heavier girl. Like, I was tormented as a child for being heavier. And then growing up, like, people always said, oh, you have such a pretty face. If you just would lose weight, So I grew up with this whole other identity. And then when I lost the weight, I mean, I'll never forget the day I went back to Barnes and Noble and I walked up to the customer service desk, and a friend of mine was standing there, and I said, hey, Desiree, what's up? And she looked at me with this face like she had no idea who I was. And I was like, it's Taylor. And like the genuine shock on her face when she saw me was just like, what, like, who is this person? And it was the first time that it clicked to me that people did not see the same person that I saw in the mirror. So that was the first step that I was like, oh my gosh, like I did something here, right? Like even because to me, I was being so hard on myself about like not having this like perfect physique that I wanted when I lost weight, that I completely discredited all the work I had done. So I started doing the work, right, to figure out, okay, what's the right way to do this now? Like, how do I actually do this right? And I started an Instagram page where I just kind of like shared my journey at that point, my before and after, is like what I was doing now, how I was lifting weights. And I kind of just over time teaching myself and posting that stuff online. I had girls following me, asking me, hey, can you help me lose weight? Like, can you help me do this? And I was like, I don't know the right way to do this, clearly. Like, I lost the weight, but like, I am no way.
It's hard to explain. And your journey, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's similar to what happened to me in that same regards. And it's like, I lost the weight, and then people immediately start asking, hey, can you help? And I'm like, no.
They assume you have
because it's like, I don't know, you know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah,
like you just said, like they assume everything. I just know what I can do. So continue.
No, yeah, exactly. It was that. It was like all of a sudden people think I have all these answers to things and like, help me, how do I do this? Da, 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 da. But I was like, I don't know. I'm like, and I wanted to help. I've always had this natural instinct to be helpful and like want to help. And like during that time, I was still kind of depressed and not knowing what my purpose was in life. Like I really have always struggled with that throughout my life. It's like, why am I here? What am I supposed to, what purpose do I serve? And when I had lost the weight, got the Instagram and started getting this following of like, can you help me? I was like, wait, is this like, my purpose? So I actually went and looked up how to get certified. And then I quietly didn't tell anybody that I was getting certified, studied, did all this research, passed the test. And I was so nervous to announce that I was a personal trainer, that I'd gotten certified, because I was like, who's going to want to train with me? Who's going to want to train with a girl that has a bunch of loose skin? Who's going to want to train with a girl who's still kind of like new to this? Like, who's going to want to work with me? And I really kind of like talked myself out of it and like, really like shrunk myself and like, no, you can't do this. Like, this is not for you. You're not meant for this game. And it wasn't until like I had met my best friend Yvette, that she had said, come be a personal trainer at my gym that I'm starting. I want you to be the first personal trainer that I have. And I want to help you build your clientele. And I want to help you build your career. I want to teach you things. And like, I was like, whoa, like what? Like, why me? Like, why would you want me to do this? But she really saw something in me. And it was like, what I had been doing, all the work that I had been putting in, that she was like, come with me and let me do this. And through my certification and then working with her, I was able to kind of like pick up clients that I practiced on. I didn't even charge them. I was just like, let me try this on you and see if what I've learned actually helps you. And then if it does, we can talk about like all of that. So I really didn't call myself a trainer until like, I want to say like a year into getting certified, because I was like, I'm going to learn all the things that I need to learn, because I know this is not cookie cutter. This isn't for everybody, and not this, not all the same things work. So now to be a trainer and a manager of a women's gym is like my dream. Like I never thought that like I would ever be doing something like this. And it's really healed that little girl that felt so like pushed out and bullied. Like it's really given her the space to be like, yeah, I did that and I showed you guys and you guys were wrong, and it's
I got you.
so
I got you.
fulfilling.
I
So
got you.
fulfilling.
I got you. And that's amazing. So you go from 290 to 120-pound weight loss to now it's like, okay, I lost all this weight for what? And now you are talking to a trainer and they're saying, you need some more protein, you need to hit these weights. And then you say, okay, now I'm going to become a personal trainer, to not even knowing, how to start a session, maybe program a workout, whatever,
Not nothing.
to now managing an all women's gym. Tell us about the all women's gym. How did that come across?
So I met my friend Yvette through social media. She had an activewear line called Doyen Activewear, and it was this like all-inclusive activewear for women that had all different kinds of diverse women. And it was local in my town, and I like loved her following. I loved her clothes. I loved her energy. I just thought she was a beautiful person. And I remember she had a pop-up at this event, and I was like, oh, should I go to that? Like, I'm not a fit girl. Like, I don't know if I should show up to something like that. But I went to the event and I met her for the first time. This was before she was my friend. I met her and like we just instantly clicked. There was just something about our energy that just like clicked. And she said she really liked me, and she gave me like free leggings and a free shirt. And for the first time ever, like I felt kind of like included in this like fitness community. And I remember going home and like putting on the leggings and the shirt and feeling like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. Like, like I can't believe I got recognized by her. And then a couple months later, she was like, hey, I would really love for you to come and be a model in my fitness wear. And I was like, what? Like, you want me? Like, I was just so like, why do you want me? Like, I'm very insecure at the time. And so I decided, this was like pre-COVID. This was like the beginning of COVID when like the shutdown had happened. And she invited me and I decided I was going to go. And we did this photo shoot. And it was from there that she was like, I want you to be a part of what I'm building. I'm trying to build an all women's gym. I don't have a lot of resources right now, but this is what my vision is. And I really want to do this. And it just really called to me. Like she had this like mission to help women and offer this private space for them and like show women how to properly go about lifting weights and lifting heavy and like approaching health and wellness and fitness the way that it should be and not the way we had learned for so many years, which is just going cardio.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that point in time, like that was just day one. And I've been here ever since. And it evolved from me starting glute camp, the lower body fitness hit class, to me becoming a trainer, like in training, like training all the clients and members of the gym.
Right.
And she asked me to become a manager. And so now I'm helping manage the location. And we also just started our own nonprofit here in Fresno called the Helpful Women Foundation that we're both co-owners of. And it's going to be a nonprofit organization that offers free health and wellness and nutrition services to the underprivileged and under-resourced women in our community. So it's just cool. It's just been like just an amazing.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Events that has happened
so give us a time frame from your initial weight loss journey, as far as your day one to you becoming the manager. What was that? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or what was that?
Gosh, so I started my journey in 2016. I think I lost the majority of my weight into 2018, because that was like, losing the initial 100 pounds and then gaining more muscle. And then 2018 into 2019, it was kind of, I want to say just like kind of maintaining for a while and trying to figure out where my purpose was, still kind of trying to lose. And then it was going into 2019, 2020 that I met her and we started, collaborating on our thing. So it's been about, yeah, how many years is it? 2022? About 6 years since I first started my journey. And it's been up and down. You know what I mean? Like at first I started
Right.
my journey and I had a lot of up and downs. And then I finally reached my goal. And then it was like, let me build this muscle. Let me learn more. Let me try and figure out what the right way to approach, fitness and nutrition is. And then when I finally got that under my belt and really started like seeking mentors and, collaborating with people and like Yvette and things like that. And then going into Doyen, I really feel like I've just like, I don't even know how it all happened. If you asked
So
me,
about
I
6 years, and
yeah.
and I wanted to ask that because it brings everything full circle, because a lot can change. Not even, let's say, 6 years, you did 18 months, and that was, phase one. And then, phase two was the, personal training. And then, this is, phase three. And now you're going into phase four and beyond. But it's just kind of encapsulate your entire, fitness journey, from somebody being kicked off of a roller coaster ride to now just running this all women's gym, this nonprofit, helping women and more people lose weight, inspiring the world. And that's just amazing. That's amazing in itself. So I always ask everybody these two questions. What are your favorite muscle groups / exercises to work on? And what are your least favorite?
Favorite definitely has to be quads and glutes because I love a good leg day. I actually love to do glute training. That's one of the things that I specialize in at our gym. Is I do a lot of, like, I have my own one-on-one barbell hip thrusting class, and then I teach the glute camp at night. But I also love a good shoulder day. Shoulder is like one of my favorite days too, because it's just like the release of that tension and that push is just really, really nice. My least favorite exercise, but one that I do often, has to be split squats. I tell my clients that those are literally from the devil himself. Like
Yes,
if
yes.
there was a place in hell, there would just be doing split squats the entire time, probably with heavy dumbbells too at the same time.
Yeah,
And probably with a little bit of a jump at the end as well. Jumping
yeah.
split squats.
I got you.
Um, but yeah, I actually got into a really bad car accident about a year ago. So I have
Oh,
not been able to barbell squat, the same weight in a really long time. So that's also something that kind of has inhibited my journey now, because I'm still kind of, the journey never stops. You still want
right.
to like see yourself evolve. And I've got completely, derailed from my goals over the past year because of that accident. I ended up getting 3 herniated discs in my back. So it's been a long journey to like relearn my body. But it's also given me this great opportunity to approach fitness differently. And I've like learned so much more about spinal
Yeah.
health,
Mm-hmm.
function, and like
Yeah.
core, and like
Yeah.
breathing and those other things. So
Right.
I've really been able to help my clients in other ways because my injury allowed this opportunity for me to learn new knowledge from my therapists and from other,
Right.
people. So it's been kind of, a blessing in disguise because it's helped me with, my knowledge to give to my girls.
Right.
And
It's just more education, because it's like,
yes.
what's going on with my body? True
Mhm.
story, even talking about split squats was something that I was just trying to do something different. And I was doing split squats on the Smith machine. And, some Smith machines is go straight up and down. And the ones at our gym are at an angle. I was just at a bad angle for me,
Mhm.
and it was that one last rep. I'm like, you know what, you can get one more in.
Always that last one.
And I pulled something in my hamstring, which then kind of led to some lower back issues, which kind of caused me not being able to, like you said, barbell squat the right type of way, let alone deadlift, running, everything kind of, had to just baby stuff. Had to just baby my back. And just like you're saying, you end up learning more. You're like, okay, like I have to find a way to recover. And then you start understanding a different, I would say, part of your one, your body, then two, even your clientele, because
Exactly.
you're surprised that they are dealing with a similar injury, or discomforts and different things like this. So you try out things with each other, at
Mhm.
the same time.
Exactly.
So yeah, I get it. And you, like you said, the grind still continues. The grind still continues. What
And I
major life lessons did you learn after you lost your weight that you can share with others?
to keep showing up, and you just never know like where the next step is going to lead. I really believe that, stepping out of your comfort zone and really doing something like major weight loss, or like whether it's lifting weights, you're trying to build muscle, whatever it is, like that stepping into that out of your comfort zone is so important, because like I said before, it translates to everything else in your life. Like, you build confidence under the bar, you might be confident enough to chase that job opportunity, or, go network with that person, or, take a leap of faith on something else. But I truly believe that if it wasn't for me stepping into this path in my life, I wouldn't have opened all these other doors. So I always tell my clients, keep showing up for yourself. You never know what self-dedication and showing up for you is going to do for you. And you can't pour from an empty cup. I have a lot of women clients who are moms and wives, and they always put themselves at the bottom of this to-do list. And I'm like, you are not just some wife and you're not just a mom. You are a woman. You should be thriving in your life. When your kids are 18 and gone, like, you deserve to be healthy. You deserve to love yourself. You deserve to be strong. This is all about longevity and like our lifestyle. It's not just about, let me just lose this 50, 100, 150 pounds and like, everything's going to be perfect. You're changing these habits and these thoughts and this mindset and this relationship with yourself. So keep showing up, don't give up, and always remember your why are my big pieces of advice.
Always remember your why. So Taylor, tell everybody where they can reach you on Instagram and connect with you, website, and your gym, where you're at.
I'm mostly on Instagram, so you can follow me on Instagram, Taylor Winter, with 2 I's in the winter. You can also follow my gym. It's called Doyen Barbell and Fitness in Fresno, California. Doyen is French for a woman who is most respected. So it's a special kind of gym. We have a different kind of, culture there. It's very uplifting and positive, and very much showing women that they can get comfortable under the bar, and that there's a special community of women that are here to support you in this journey. And you can also find us on our website, doyenbarbellandfitness.com. And I have a link tree on my Instagram as well, where you can train with me, follow my Spotify accounts for my playlist at the gym, and look at our nonprofit as well.
All righty, you heard it, Miss Taylor Branum. This brings us to the end of another episode of the Success Fitness Podcast. This show is sponsored by my new e-cookbook, What to Meal Prep for Beginners, at successfitnessstore.com. It includes 3 recipes for 1 high-protein meal under 600 calories, step-by-step written instructions, video tutorials, and a free workout ebook. So you can get your copy today at successfitnessstore.com. And please share this podcast with your loved one who's looking for inspiration or a new gym in California, Fresno, California, and that can help them on their fitness journey. You can help me reach more people by just sharing, just liking, leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you are hearing this podcast at. Please join my Facebook group, Success Fitness Family. The link will be in the description below. Thank you for listening to the Success Fitness Podcast. And until the next episode, Success Fitness is the mindset. And remember, success is golden. #more weight. Peace out.